This is The Dig on the Huskers Radio Network podcast. Powered by Emeritus. Featuring Nebraska Volleyball Director of Operations, Lindsay Peterson. Here's your host, Jessica Coody.
Welcome into The Dig and welcome back, Lindsay Peterson. We've switched it around this week because we had a big match on Tuesday night in Omaha. And so turned right around and recording a podcast today. So appreciate you.
Yeah, great to be here again. And it was an exciting day yesterday and just a true reflection of what volleyball means to this state. And some of our players were saying it was like the state championship. They're playing in a state championship again. And but yeah, it just speaks volumes to what volleyball means to the state of Nebraska.
How loud was it there in CHI?
It was one of the loudest events I've been at there at a couple times, at a couple points throughout the match. And even our players were saying that there were points in the match where they had to realize that they weren't going to be able to hear each other, so they just had to trust, like, knowing we've trained this enough, we know the timing, we know the route, like, I just trust you're going to be up. Bergen said that with her hitter. She's like, I just am going to trust you're there because I'm not going to be able to hear you. And so, but what a great atmosphere. And, I mean, who wouldn't love playing in an atmosphere like that for, just to look at both teams, especially how far Creighton has come, and then Nebraska and, our tradition, and to see all that come together last night and the excitement behind the sport, and it ended up being an all-out battle. You couldn't ask for a better volleyball match.
And yet another record for Husker volleyball. Do you ever, you can't ever take that for granted, right? I mean, we were just chatting before we started recording. Someone needs to go through and make a list and see just how many records Nebraska's a part of. Because it's not even just regular season like last night, obviously the stadium match, but in the school's individual records.
Correct. How
How many times Nebraska's part of that too?
Well, I remember at one point last year when we looked, and the number of matches that were records for that venue in the Big Ten, we were the team that it was against, with the exception of, I think, Purdue, Wisconsin in the Mackey Arena. Otherwise, every other match was, Michigan State record crowd, Michigan record crowd. It was against us. And one, I think it's a realization that we have Nebraska fans everywhere. I mean, they come out everywhere, no matter where you play. But also just how big a stage our program and our athletes have, that people want the opportunity to see them play live, and they come out, they may not be big volleyball fans, but we're in the state, we're coming to play there, they want to take it in and see. And I think it's, it's really, obviously it's grown the sport. It's promoted the platforms of our athletes and our program. And, but hey, if we're going to be in all the records being set, we should get some credit for it, I think, even though it may not be in our own home turf.
It's a sense of pride. I know it was a big sense of pride for Coach Cook, but we kind of like to be at the top of those records around here, don't we?
Yeah, something about setting records and then trying to figure out how can we, if we're in a record that was maybe took place somewhere else and we were part of it, but it wasn't at Nebraska, we have to try to come up with a way to break it at Nebraska. So, we always think outside the box here.
I don't think that 92 is ever getting touched,
Yeah.
though. I don't know if anybody else
We're
can get
safe
that
for
one.
a while. Yeah, I would say we're safe for a while.
What a match. I mean, just what were, I guess, some of the big takeaways? It seemed like, Danny after the game was saying in the fifth set, got back to what Nebraska does. But I guess throughout the course of a five-set match, what were, I guess, some of the big takeaways for this group?
Well, I think, serving and passing was a big key. Both teams had gotten ace. Both teams served well. Both teams got ace. And then at a point in each set or even throughout the match, there were key moments where, a missed serve occurred, and just understanding the importance of that. But I think also a big takeaway was we have to understand if a team has taken away one of our strengths, how do we still, combat that and find a way to work around it and then help come back to it in the end. And that was what we had talked about is, Creighton did a phenomenal job of taking away our middles. Our middles have been our go-to. We like to run our offense through the middle of the court, and they had two great middle blockers, and they were on our middles. And so that really forced our pens to be great, and Virginia really stepped up there after the second set to help. And then once she started having success, then they had to start on that, which then allowed our middles to get back in it. But I think just understanding that we have to, see how the other team is going to come out against us and be able to make those adjustments, but still not get away what's true to us, just be able to figure out how we can still be successful if they're taking away something that we like to run. And the middles found that in the fifth set, especially. I think Rebecca had 3 kills off of just tips, and they'd been on her that she wasn't able to get power kills, but she was able to just place the ball and was able to get a kill that way.
If we're just average watchers of the sport and learning the sport, when can you identify what the other team is doing to try to take Andy and Rebecca out of things?
You usually have a good idea about halfway through the first set. You start seeing a pattern. Once you go through the 6 rotations one time, you've seen how they do it, and you're on your repeat. You understand what they are going to attack in that offensive rotation. So you see what they're trying to, maybe where they're trying to serve, if they're trying to take out a hitter by where they're serving, if we know they're going to try to, set up their block by serving a certain zone against us, we're starting to look at that. And then also just seeing with watching our hitters, so you see Rebecca, you see Andy. If Andy's going on the slide and you see the middle releasing to go on the slide, they're going to start always having 2 blockers up on her. And so just being able to, about halfway through, if you're through the rotations once and you're in your second round, you have a good feel of what their game plan would be.
So do you think that was a big learning match for the team too, being that maybe now that film's out there, other teams might try to do what Creighton did?
Absolutely. I mean, people are going to watch, and that's part of scouting. We do the same thing. When we scout a team, we watch the opponents and see what they're successful for. You watch what the team you're going to play, what they do, but you also see how did this other team stop that? Why did maybe their best hitter not have a good night? Was she just off, or did they do something to not allow her to have a big night? So when you scout, you look at that, and I'm sure other teams will look at that film and see what they did, but then we're also looking at the film and seeing what they did, and how are we going to not let that happen again?
I think it was Jalen, maybe in the post game, had talked about you guys did some maybe out of the box serving last night. What does that look like? When do you decide when to go to the out of the box serving?
Well, I think some of it is when we put in like Campbell to serve. When she's not typically a serve sub, we look more to use her as a double sub, but she has a type of serve that's, she drives it, it's low and flat, and that tempo and pace can slow down a middle who's trying to get around if you're serving into a seam. So, and then also serving more short serves to try to disrupt setting middle. They like to feed their middles, and we knew that. So being able to slow that down allows our block to set up. So it is part of as the game goes on to see what they're going to, and especially, in big points, you expect them to go to what they feel most comfortable with. So if you can disrupt what they feel most comfortable with, so towards the end of that 4th set or even in the 5th, knowing that, hey, we know they're going to want to get to these 2 hitters, what can we do tactically serving that will either allow us to have a better block and D set up against it or completely eliminate that option?
A lot of times when Campbell comes in, she comes in with Allie Check. Why is that? Why the pair of them together?
Well, because we would do a double sub. A double sub would be, so if Campbell's coming in, she would be coming in for Virginia, who would be going back to serve. Allie would be coming in for Bergen, who would be rotating to front row. So now you still have a setter hitter. It's like a 6-2, but with a new, it is a 6-2 basically, but not for a continuous throughout the match. It's just like maybe one rotation to do that. And a lot of times it could be due to block. Like Allie obviously is going to present a big block on the outside. Also, we know Campbell's got a great serve, and other times it was just opportunity to get in the game. But that's why you would do that double sub, is normally if it's some type of matchup issue you want to do to get, right, or you need 3 attackers in an option to side out versus trying to be in a 5-1. If you're struggling to side out in one of those 5-1 rotations, that gives you another hitter in front row as an option, and it helps spread out the offense.
I got to say, I know that a lot of Nebraska fans have, it's been a big storyline since last season when Lexi Rodriguez took the libero jersey off for the last time, but just the depth there and the competition there between Olivia and Lainey. But it's just impressive to watch the both of them, that no matter what the role might be needed, and even when it changes in a match, that they seem to both be able to embrace whatever is needed.
Yeah, the libero position is tough in the fact that there's really 2 ends of the spectrum. You either succeed or you fail. There's not a lot of gray area in it. So, you're not contacting the ball often. Usually as a libero, you're thinking they're not going to serve you much because typically you should be one of the best passers on the team. So you're having to try to dig balls that are hard shots, which, your chance of success there is limited. Or, in passing, it's just that one contact and you can't go back and do anything. If you have a bad pass, it disrupts everything. Now, if a setter would set a ball that's not great and off the net, usually the hitter can still do something with it, and maybe majority of people don't know it was a bad set and off the net. So, but those two have really embraced the role of and the importance of their role for our team. Like, it is obvious that they both provide pieces that we need to be successful. And it's going back and forth. Sometimes if one of their strengths is, or they're having a little bit of a struggle in one of the matches, the other one steps up, vice versa. But they're both have great natural instinct when it comes to defense and being on the court, their presence on the court, the way they run the back court, keeping our team organized are all those intangibles that we need. And they have, whether they're having the best passing match of their life or best defensive match of their life, they've embraced that. And those, they can't waver in those areas. And that's important. And so they really do balance each other very well. And they both have the personalities too. I mean, Liv is very calm. She's very consistent, steady. If you looked at her, she might have just got aced and you wouldn't know if she had just passed perfect. I mean, that's just her stoic face that she carries. While Lainey is, she's the fire, she's a spitfire. She, is going to celebrate every big play. And our team also needs that as well. So they both really balance each other in those areas, and what they provide for our team, if it isn't their best match, those things still help our team be successful.
They're still going to be, it's kind of like what Danny said last night. They're both starters.
Yeah,
it's just
right.
One of them has a different color jersey on, but they're both going to be huge impacts in every single match.
Correct. Yeah. And to have those type of players back there, a lot of people don't have players that are that strong defensively and that strong at passing, and it really makes your offense. And we take pride in our defense and a big block, but if you get it past our block, then you have to get it past those two, which is even a greater challenge. So, they are starters. It's just the color of the jersey, and you might be out there 2 more rotations, basically, is what ends up being. But they both are very, very vital to the success of our team.
Can you tell us about just Virginia's journey? And I know that a lot was made that just the adjustment from playing overseas, it's different than what it is here. What are those things that she's had to adjust to and settle into that she's kind of starting, I guess, maybe to feel herself again?
Yeah, one, just the tempo and speed that we run our offense. It's a lot higher, slower, that she's used to high balls, weight, go hard and just blast away. While right now our offense is more about finesse and quickness and getting on it and beating the block. And so that completely changes how you approach your footwork pattern and understanding the timing of that. And timing is really a key factor for attackers. If your timing is off, it doesn't really matter how great a jumper you are, how great an arm swing you have. It impacts the success of attacking a ball. So she's really had to learn and get that feel from Bergen and understanding that timing, especially, Bergen can set the ball all the way across the court, and understanding the difference tempo from setting it that distance versus being right close to her, because it's not the same high ball that she would get no matter what that she was used to. Also, the international rotations are different. So understanding those rotations took a little bit of time because we go off where the setter is, while internationally it was just like 1, 2, 3. We do based off of how our setter moves around, or not how our setter moves, sorry. Our setter moves opposite. So like zone 1 is right back, zone 6 is middle back. For them, it would be like 1, zone 6 would be 2, 3. Ours goes 1, and then you move up to 2 and right front. And so it's backwards in her mind. So understanding that and knowing that, hey, we're in rotation 3, well, she has to think, what's rotation 3 in the United States?
Wow.
So that has changed as well. And then just, I think also understanding you're going to play teams that are going faster. And so the block footwork has been a big adjustment for her. She's not just standing on the pen and just jumping and reaching over. She has more responsibilities. There's quicker tempo sets and movement to block those balls. has also been part of her training process. But she's been very intentional and has embraced it, and she's open to it. And even on days where she feels like she's frustrated and isn't getting better, she still understands, like, this is a change, and I got to give myself a little grace and do what I can. And you really saw it start to sink in and click last night for her.
You guys are quickly approaching the Big Ten Conference, which is, I know, just a brutal grind, but just being the number one team. I know it's nothing new for this program, but what is that like throughout a course of a season, having the target on your back and kind of balancing that of knowing that everybody wants to give you their best any given night?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we always talk about. That's even in the recruiting process, we put that out there, understanding that if you come to Nebraska, every match you play, you're going to be the one that, I mean, the other teams have nothing to lose to play you. So you have to be able to give your best every night and understand every night is a big match because every team is giving their best against you. And we really talk about that. We put them in drills and practice to understand, you know, if it's tougher in a practice drill, hopefully it'll be easier in a match. But they have to also do it mentally and mentally prepare that there's no matches you can take off because momentum is so big in volleyball and it's really tough to get back once you lose it. And so if you let a team get hot and get the momentum, no matter what you do, it's, you know, it's like you're digging in sand and you just keep digging deeper and deeper. You can never get your footing to get back up. And so we stress that in the recruiting process, but we also talk about it a lot in with our team and just the importance of knowing that, yes, people respect us. We're number one, but, you know, there comes greater expectation then with that and more pressure with that number. But also, like, being number one right now means nothing, you know, and it's being able to, if you have a slip up, it's not the end. You get an opportunity to wake up the next day and have another practice and have another game. And so the importance is what number we are at the end of the year. So really not letting them dwell on the fact of being number one, but just understanding that we're Nebraska and you're an elite program, and so everyone's going to give you your best shot.
So you played a Tuesday night match this week. Next week you got Wednesday. It kind of disrupts a little bit of what the routine has become, right?
Yeah, our schedule has been crazy. I mean, it'll be nice to start conference ball next week after getting through our non-conference and, you know, start a conference season. But our conference season, if you look at our schedule as a whole, we don't have a lot of back-to-back Friday, Saturday matches throughout the season. You know, there's kind of a Wednesday, Saturday, or a Thursday, Saturday, or home Friday, on the road Sunday. So it makes us it doesn't let you get into a specific routine, but it really makes the players have to really focus on, okay, we take it week by week. How are we going to adjust our schedule to make sure we're the best at this point on this day? So do we look at recovery? Do we look at adjusting our lifting, how hard we go in practice, the intensity of practice? So it also keeps it from being stagnant, though, too. I think it brings a little more excitement. I mean, if you play a match Tuesday, your Monday practice isn't probably going to be extremely difficult. However, if you play a match Thursday, you're coming in, you better be ready to go hard Monday, Tuesday. You know, it just changes the mindset. So it really makes them not able to just go through the motion. They have to be 100% focused and on it and know our schedule, and it keeps things fresh to know that each week we got to look at it and it's a different approach.
All right, coming up, we're taping this on a Wednesday. Special day coming up on Thursday. We have the John Cook statue unveiling. Have you seen the designs? Does it look like him? Is it a solid representation of Coach Cook?
It is. I mean, it blows my mind that you know, you can sculpt that, how the very distinct details and how an artist can do that. I'm as far from being an artist as anybody, and to see that and to be like, wow, that truly does look like Coach Cook. So, yeah, it's a big day, and it's a celebration, obviously, of the legacy that he has left here and how he built this program. And also, you know, knowing John, I know it was never about him. So I'm sure he's extremely humbled to see this be put up and know, you know, the arena's named after him and now there's a statue there. But it's just a great way to honor what he did for our program and to put us where we are right now. And, you know, not just the wins and losses, but just the trajectory he put volleyball on and never backing down and always, like you said, thinking outside the box. he really, I think if you look across the nation, was somebody that pushed volleyball to a different standard and really pushed the envelope and allowed where we are now with the number of people, attending matches, to the number of games on TV, to the number of viewers, was something that he was a big part of, because he never took no as an answer and he was never satisfied. And I think that's a lot to, when you see a statue, sometimes you just think it's about, well, he had a lot of wins and he won some championships. But, it's really, truly about much more. And it'll be a special day for sure.
I think it's just so cool, too, because a lot of times, a coach might retire, player ends a career, and it takes several years to do stuff like this. But the fact that Nebraska's been, so quick to move on, naming the arena, the John Cook Arena, getting the statue here. I mean, when I was at Oklahoma, those Heisman statues take forever to get here, So the fact that it's happened quickly, and in the kind of passing of the torch with Danny's first season, they're able to do it simultaneously. It's been really cool, and I think a lot of people appreciate that too. That it's not like we're not waiting 10 years down the road to really honor his legacy.
Right. I think it is definitely a unique situation, and something that the planning of it had to start probably before the actual retirement. And I think that was our administration driving that and understanding that what we had here was special and what he had accomplished was a big deal. And knowing that it's not something you just snap your fingers and it's done. But yeah, exactly. Just, it makes it seem like really just passing the torch. We're not coming back to it and trying to relive, the past or John's career 5-10 years later. It's happening now. And it seems like it's not putting an end, but it's, bringing it all to a nice closure almost of, his career, and then allowing what lies ahead for Danny to, write her own story. And so I think, he is going to be, I'm sure, short on some words when it comes time to give his speech about this, because it's going to be a very big deal for him.
Oh, can't wait. Okay, so let's preview Saturday, 8 o'clock. So late one.
Late one. Yeah.
Late one for you guys. But I guess it allows for people to go to both football.
Yeah.
It's a big day around here. But final one before you move full into, Big Ten Conference. So Wednesday, which we will have an episode before that, but Michigan coming in here on Wednesday. But what needs to happen this weekend for you guys to be able to close the chapter on non-conference and feel good about going into conference play?
Yeah, I think our focus, obviously, Arizona is going to be a totally different team than what Creighton is. So really, I think focusing on our side of the net and maybe fixing some of those things that we let go last night and put us in that situation, and focusing on making sure our side of the net is running smoothly and we get comfortable with going back to how we run our offense and getting everyone's timing back. And but also coming in Saturday night and understand it's the last non-conference game. Again, Arizona is going to come in, and teams, when they come play at Nebraska, they love that opportunity of playing in front of a packed house and that atmosphere and environment. And a lot of times it brings out the best in teams. So like you said, preparing to have another battle, and also know that, we talk about our season is in 3 parts, and this is the end to our non-conference. And this is a goal. Like, we want to have a undefeated non-conference, and you want to have a great non-conference, because that comes back and plays a role in your final part of the season in the championship segment in December, how well you do non-conference. So it'll be a good ending to what seems like a kind of busy, chaotic 4 weeks of volleyball for us, and then we'll help everybody, now get focused on our conference season.
You feel like, just, and you always schedule tough. I mean, you're a part of that, but just the different teams, the different scenarios, kind of the different situations. It seems like this team has seen a lot of that and handled it well, even despite not always being smooth sailing, but being able to figure some things out. That's going to bode well for this group moving forward, right?
Yeah, you want to try to throw a bunch of things at them in this part of the season, because like you said, you still get an opportunity to practice and play the next day, and it's not make or break. But you also want them to be in big moments and see how they're going to handle it, so it's not something new come end of conference when you're trying to win a conference championship and set yourself up to host an NCAAs, or even further down the road when you might be playing in a Final Four. So you have to make the most of basically creating what you think will challenge your team, because you can't control conference. I mean, your conference schedule is set by the conference, your teams, like you don't have say in that. So you're given what you're given, and you can't necessarily set up or predict those certain scenarios or matchups like you can in non-conference. So you have to anticipate, hey, what do we think we need? And this team needs to be challenged. We need to be challenged early. We need to figure out how we work through the tough things. How do we do in the big moments to do that? Because we know the Big Ten's always tough to help us in conference, but then also to help us in December.
Great stuff as always. Thank you for being here, and have fun tomorrow with Coach Cook, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Lindsay Peterson here with us on The Dig. Emeritus is proud to power The Dig and all of Husker women's sports. Thanks for listening and watching. And as always, make sure you subscribe and like wherever you listen to never miss an episode right here on the Huskers Radio Network podcast.